everyone, welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles video. My name is Erin and today I'm doing my May bullet journal. I started off with taping the edge of my page just like I always do so that I can easily find the start of the month from the outside of the notebook. I went with this coral color today because I'm doing an under the sea theme. So I picked lots of corals and purples and bluish green tones to match coral colors as well as just kind of some almost mermaidy colors, although I didn't actually end up doing any mermaids in this one. Started by writing the title of the month as well as putting it in my table of contents. And instead of doing like flowers and stuff, I did some seaweed and coral down at the bottom of the page so that it looked like the title was kind of popping out of an undersea garden. I've definitely done an underwater theme in years past, but I've never done one with quite this color palette. I think in the past I've stuck to like truly just blues and greens, or I've done more of an orange as a pop of color instead of the coral and the purple. So I was really excited to try out this set of colors. This color palette also looked very spring and summery to me, I think just because of how colorful it was, so it was a really fun addition to some of my more recent themes that have been a little bit more on the monochromatic side. I added this little piece of coral down there, and I've used this coral drawing technique a lot, both in my bullet journal and just in little doodles that I do of just creating a blob and then doing smaller blobs inside of it and filling in the negative space. I also tried doing a little sea anemone in the purple, which I think turned out pretty good considering how fast it was. I then added some little bubbles just to really sell the underwater theme. And I really like how these little bubbles turned out. Moving on to the first weekly spread. So the first day of May is actually on a Sunday. So I did change up my spread a little bit for this, and I had Sunday through Sunday on this page. And this was really just to avoid giving Sunday, May 1st its own page because it really didn't need that. So I just have a slightly smaller tasks section than normal. And I start with Sunday in the bottom square over on the first page. I also decided to do these little seashell shapes for the numbers of the day. These didn't turn out quite as I had envisioned, but they still came out pretty cute. I did end up subbing right after I filmed the video portion of this video, and I had a student who really wanted to see my bullet journal, and she actually really liked the seashell page, so I guess it turned out pretty good, at least to a middle school kid. But she likes looking at my drawings in my bullet journal. I then went ahead and put the number over that little seashell, and then the day of the week right next to it. I tried to keep this page fairly minimal because I knew I was squeezing an extra day in there. For the next one, I went with a really simple ocean wave design. So I started by just sketching out the little wave shapes at the top, and I knew that this was going to be filled in solidly, so I just went and adjusted the shapes after to kind of give it a cleaner look, and then I colored in this entire section with a nice light blue. Getting the wave shapes really uniform was probably the most difficult part of this page, but that was why I chose to do it colored in instead of just as an outline, because then I could adjust the shapes more easily. Filling them in did take quite a while though. I don't know if I've mentioned this in videos before, but when I film my bullet journal and then start the video editing, I do speed this up to 4 times the speed. So for what you see as a 10-minute video, probably took me over or close to an hour to do. Then used a dark blue to do the numbers and the days of the week. And for this spread, I decided to do some bubble shapes. This one didn't turn out quite as great as I had originally thought it would, partially because at one point I messed up, and you'll see that as we keep going. I thought the bubble shapes would be really cute, but they ended up kind of just looking a little bit messy since I did more than one color. I think if I were to do this again, I would do it all in the light blue instead of trying to make it multicolor, just to give it a cleaner look. And the reason I messed up on the numbers is because I was trying to do the numbers in a color that was not the same as the bubble, and that's where I messed up because I decided to just do all of the letters in blue first, and my brain was too busy counting. So I wrote 17 on Friday, but I just filled it in with a smaller bubble, and that'll be good enough for now. Overall, I have been really enjoying this style of layout. This was new for me this year. But I have found that if I want more space to do tasks on specific days, I just rewrite it on a post-it note and put it over my task section in case I need more space. For this spread, I decided to do some starfish because I hadn't really used my peach color yet, and I really wanted to add some more of the peaches and corals into my weekly spread. So I started with a nice big starfish on the bottom of either page. These also took quite a while to fill in, just because of how big they were. I then kind of outlined the general 3D shape and added some little dots to mimic the starfish skin. Then I used that same pinkish coral that I used for the details on the starfish to create all of my remaining outlines. For this one, I did end up not having an extra notes section like I usually do, just because the starfish was in the way, but everything else fit just fine. Then for my final page, I only had 2 days left, so I squeezed them in off to the side, along with a tasks and journal section for those 2 days. And then I started drawing in all of my monthly tracking sections. So I started with my habit tracker because that's the hardest one to fit in. I did have it span over 2 pages, which is not my favorite layout for habit trackers, but it does work. I've been trying to draw in all of the numbers before closing off the box just to make sure that I have enough space. And then I put the label at the top. For my remaining boxes, I kept them fairly simple because I was running low on space with squeezing in those last 2 days. I also kept my mood tracker very simple, and you'll see what it looks like in a second. I went with more of a stained glass abstract looking design instead of trying to squeeze in a really detailed image. So I started with all of my moods at the bottom. I really loved how the color palette ended up looking for these moods, with all of the different color variation that I have in this color palette that I chose. I had some blues and greens into purples, and then those coral and peach tones at the end. For the drawing itself, I went with a black outline and just kind of did abstract shapes for each day, and this kind of, I'm hoping, will end up looking almost like sea glass pieces, but it was also just fun to do an abstract design. I also made sure to put a number on each section, partially so I could count as I go, and partially so that when I'm filling it in, I know which day is which. And that's it for this Under the Sea bullet journal. I hope you really liked this theme. If you want to see other bullet journal videos, you can check out the playlist on my channel to see all of the ones from last year and the other videos from this year. In the description will be all of my social media information if you would like to follow me elsewhere. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.